Ted Benna, the founder of the 401k, almost 50 years later, still suggests changes to the IRS and tells you to consider converting to an annuity. Here's 3 reasons. Now, first, he says many people in retirement are going to have to make some really tough decisions about how to make this provide an income for their life for 20, 30 years. And this is in response to asking what recommendations you would make to the 401k system. And one way to do that is what is called a guaranteed monthly lifetime income annuity. And I would like to see a tax break for retirees. Again, making this suggestion to the IRS, maybe the first $1,000 to $2,000 a month, that they'd lock in a guaranteed lifetime income annuity. They wouldn't have to pay tax on it. Now, the problem with that is if we look here at this table, is this shows the average balance and the median balance of 401ks in the United States for people of different age ranges. Now, the average around 55 to 64 and 65 plus might actually look pretty healthy. There's 270 to 290,000. If you turned that into some form of guaranteed income immediately, this could produce, at least for certain ages, over $20,000 guaranteed for the rest of their life, maybe not adjusting for inflation, but that coupled with Social Security, that might seem pretty healthy. They might be able to retire well. The problem is that the average doesn't tell the whole story. The median does. For both of them, around 95,000. And the big problem there is this: if we're using those same withdrawal rates we just used when talking about the average, we're going to be able to produce less than, if we're taking this immediately, around $7,000. Could be less if you're taking it joint, could be less if you're taking it earlier. This, coupled with Social Security, a lot of the time, especially since it's not adjusting for inflation, just isn't going to be able to support people fully in retirement. And to Mr. Benna's credit, he is, for this exact reason, still working on many other retirement solutions to make sure people have more when they get there. The point, though, is that even though he suggests this change for people to turn their money into guaranteed income, to hopefully improve the 401k system and have more people retire successfully, if they don't have much money in there because they didn't save well, this doesn't entirely solve the problem for so many Americans. Second is peace of mind. Fixed index annuity sales are up 100% since 2021, and this is the primary reason that people are doing this. Of course, you also have the protected income. It's there for life. You have the growth potential without having that risk of downside loss, and it's one thing for me to tell you this. Of course, fixed index annuities are up 100% since 2021. It's another thing, and you can find this really anywhere online, where the type of people that are looking to retire, and especially are looking into different strategies, are grouping. But here's a comment section from a popular finance video on annuities of people who have got them and why they actually did. I think it's very helpful. The first person says, I have a solid fixed income in retirement, regardless of what the market does. Again, we touched on that there. This one, for those who value security over market volatility. So it's not necessarily that they're going to return higher than the stock market. It's more about valuing the security there, having that there forever. Next one, this is funny. I always assume that someone telling me an annuity is great. It's also someone selling me an annuity. The next one, I did it for peace of mind and to alleviate the stress of money management. Again, not necessarily saying it's going to return higher, that it's going to leave more money behind to heirs, but they did it for the peace of mind. And then this last one here can be a great crutch to convert savings into freedom. It may not be the best financial decision, this person says, but converting a portion of your ample savings into a forced income stream can be a great quality of life decision. Again, you got to look at why people are doing this. And to Ted Benna's point, a lot of people, especially if you have that small amount in a 401k, are just going to run out of it. At least when they lock in something like an annuity, they know it's going to be there forever, even if it is a smaller amount, and they do need to come up with something on top of that and Social Security. A little stat here on the right, this is from ChatGPT. 80+% of annuity owners feel more confident in retirement. And real quick, if you're finding this helpful, please leave a like and let me know. Number 3, that leads us straight into it, Simplifies Retirement. Of course, there was plenty of comments there that we just looked at about this reducing stress. Also, it's going to reduce the sequence of returns risk, and I want to give you an actual example here. Now, this isn't a real scenario, and it might not be the same across the board, but this is if we were just trying to get $1,000 a month, adjusted for inflation every single year, on top of whatever else that you already had for retirement. That means if you already have Social Security, you have other money that's going to cover your expenses, and all we need is $1,000 more a month for our retirement, and that's the only goal we had to accomplish. Again, so very simplistic model here. If we left that money just in the stock market in a moderate 60-40 portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, we have here on the projection, which again does not necessarily mean that this is true, it's just looking at past data and coming up with a probability of success, it shows us we have about 82%. So this is the baseline scenario here. If it was a baseline scenario, no sort of drastic market crashes or periods like that that are prolonged, we see the income in orange here continuing over time. Now, if we had a bad decade followed by moderate growth, we see the orange there, and then we see red at the end. That is our income shortage. If this were to happen and we had all of that money in the stock market, that's why that probability of success is 82 and not 100%. It's also fair to note that in both of these, you might be able to leave more behind when you do succeed if it just was this baseline scenario. However, on the flip side, if you were just trying to lock in your retirement and you really wanted to do that, what would happen if you added in an annuity instead to try and guarantee that $1,000 a month adjusted for inflation for the rest of your life? In this case, we have a 100% probability of success. Little factor here, in the first 5 years when I ran this, I took the difference above what we needed and assumed that it went into a taxable account. Only the first 5 years. I did not do that for the next 14 years. There's over $40,000 that would have likely grown more that we didn't even account for in this, and still the probability of success was 100%. We're not taking into account leaving money behind here. If you did pass away early, just for the money that would have been funding this $1,000 a month, that also still could have been there. But the point is, if that was your only goal, getting that $1,000 a month, having it locked in, regardless of what the market does, let's look at this here. If this was a bad decade, followed by slow growth, even with putting that money back into a taxable account, just the first 5 years there, still we succeed. And that is because of that probability of success being 100%. So those are a couple reasons to consider converting 401k to annuity. Of course, it's not the same across the board. None of this is guaranteed. If you're within 10 years of retirement, you're beat up. There's so many different things you can do, but you just don't know what to focus on. Subscribe. I release videos for you twice a week on how to do that peacefully.